Now I have sanded the hands a little bit more smooth before we add the detail. We take out a small amount of clay, and what we're going to do first is we're going to add these knuckles and the tendon, and each one is added separately. Very thin strips. Again, have a good look at your hands, because you see when your hand is a fist, it's different parts are showing than when your hand is open, and also it will show these 3 tendon and not very much on the little finger. When your hand is a fist, the knuckles come up a lot more. As before, you wet the clay. Again, a children's hand is much more fatty, and it actually has little dimples instead of knuckles. So look at images and look at your character and see how the hands needs to be formed. I'm just showing you here how I add detail in an adult hand. So you put it a little bit above where the knuckle is going to be, and you blend it in. All the way around. Then with your finger you can actually smoothen it out. And how far this goes down. Again, put it beyond, so not just where the knuckle is, but a little bit beyond that. You have to get in between, but your tool will make that possible. Again, smoothen it out, blend it in with your fingers. And when you look at these lines, they actually go to the center. They're not straight down. You can add a little knuckle here and maybe elevate the edge of your hand there a little bit. That's already more shaped. Leave that to dry before you, maybe just on the radiator, before you add the little knuckles there. To create the knuckles, again, if your hands is a fist, they're very pronounced. If they're straight, it's more just tiny little bit of elevation and little lines in it. So again, look at your hand, look at your puppet, see what it wants to do and who it is. If it's a child, again, it's slightly different than an adult hand. So you just add tiny little bits of clay to create the knuckles. And you can use your knife just to create little lines. These will show up during the painting process. So tiny bits of clay. Again, see what your finger does. If it just needs little lines and no knuckle, wet the clay so it's a little bit soft. You can just scratch the lines into the clay. You can also use your brush to get in between the fingers and to smoothen it out a little bit. It's almost like a soft tool. For the thumb area, you might want to add this little bit here. Again, wet the clay, blend it in. And use your fingers. Take your time with this again. There's no rush. You can always leave it, come back to it again the following day. Always make sure you work on every side. Now, you leave that dry fully before you start working on the inside of the hand, because you might accidentally damage what you've just done. For the inside of the hand, again, you look at what your hand does. Where the raised areas are, where the deeper parts are, where it's kind of cushioned. Just make sure that the other side is fully dry. With a closed hand, it's a little bit more difficult to get inside, but it's still worth trying. Again, look at all the sides to make sure that it's all blended in nicely. Also see if the wrists need any more clay added, and including the knuckles, or also like create these lines. Go into as much detail as you would like in your puppet. The inside of an open hand has a little bit of padding, but not as much that shows up when the hand is closed. Leave to dry fully, and again, if you would like to sand a little bit when it's fully dry, that's grand. If not, then your hands are finished. Well done.